All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. We've got to go over to Rumble, refresh it in 15, 20 seconds or thereabouts, although I do see a bunch of people there in chat. Now, there is a link. It's pinned if you're watching on YouTube at the top of chat, and on Rumble as well. It's link in the description to a Twitter poll, actually. We're going to be having some fun with that. I will be watching that throughout the show. I'll put it to the side here. And do you believe Donald J. Trump is guilty of treason? This particular page, Zip Pulse, is one of those leftoid echo chambers that puts out a bunch of polls, and they get stacked by leftoids because they're the people that pay attention to the fucking account. So we're going to have some fun there and see how far we can nudge it in the no direction. And also keep in mind, you can go to the Grifties page as well and vote for my cat. The Styx Hexenhammer cat, number 2, briefly overtook Nick Rekieta actually the other day, I think while I was asleep. And you can vote every hour, actually, there. I don't know exactly why the system works that way. It should really be one IP, one vote. But anyway, you can. And so we'll see if we can get a Grifty Award for Styx Hexenhammer's cat, although there are 2 of them. Now, they'll share the award. They'll rip it in half. I hope that I get a little piece of paper with a Grifty Award thing on it to Styx Hexenhammer's cat if we win, because that would be goddamn hilarious. Anyway, let's make sure that we're live here. I believe so, since there are 100 people watching at the moment. Yeah, we're live over on Rumble. Okay, back down to chat. Give me a moment, make sure all the tabs are working and in order, roughly. Oh, we got a lot to cover today. Oh, boy. So many crazy things. Anyway, we're going to start off with the Hunter Biden laptop cover-up scandal because it's begun to explode as a scandal even on the legacy media. I've got the Boston Herald here. Editorial, Facebook's Hunter Biden failure. Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg said the FBI is to blame for the social media site suppressing posts about Hunter Biden's laptop. Yes, he effectively went on Joe Rogan and threw the FBI under the bus. They've responded, and they said, no. Everything's coincidental under the sun. We didn't tell him to censor the Hunter Biden story. We just showed up exactly at the same time that it broke to tell him to be wary of Russian disinformation campaigns. Yeah, it was a complete coincidence. He said the agency warned of Russian propaganda and to be vigilant. We don't want to decide what is true or false, he told Rogan, so he caved. Well, yeah, exactly. This is why you shouldn't wage any campaign against so-called disinfo, because the campaign itself is the disinfo most often. We've seen it before. We saw this with Russiagate, with the Steele dossier. We've seen it with certain medically related topics that have been heavily redacted and disappeared Stalin style, as far as the TOS of big tech sites have gone. Yeah, it's only 2 years later. Yeah, more like 3 at this point. The Styx Hexen cat. Sorry, Master. I decided to side with the tools. So you're siding with Anomaly now? But yeah, go to that poll on Twitter. I will be paying attention to that number. It's already slowly moving in the direction of no there. That's a Zip Pulse poll. Again, to all of you joining on YouTube, it is a link. It is pinned over on YouTube at the top of chat. And on both platforms, it's a link in the description. Yeah, Haterade. Zuck lied anyway. You couldn't share it via Messenger either. Yeah, that's true. Facebook heavily censors everything on site now, including the actual direct messages. Well, look at BitChute. BitChute links are still semi-banned on Twitter, and I think on Facebook as well. It says, do you want to click through here? This link may be malignant. There may be a problem here. It might be extremist material because it's BitChute. It's a competitor of one of their partners. That's why they have a problem with it. So, I mean, we're even getting legacy media editorials and shit like that that are talking about this. The fact is, Hunter Biden's laptop was real. That's number 1. Number 2, it's deeply concerning. And number 3, there was a cover-up. The government worked with big tech to try to cover up the story. They worked with the legacy media similarly. Then we have Bill Maher's reaction, actually, to this. This is, again, it's a couple of days outdated now because I didn't stream yesterday. My apologies, by the way. Bill Maher rails against conspiracy by media, big tech to suppress Hunter Biden laptop story in 2020. Maher says Dems can't pussyfoot around how Hunter Biden was selling the influence of his father. There aren't many legacy media firms, by the way, pointing that very, very important part out. The laptop's content shows quid pro Joe did engage in quid pros quos through his son. It's the business dealings that matter. Nobody cares about, oh, here's a picture of Hunter Biden smoking crack off of a hooker's chest or something. Nobody cares about that. It doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with the presidency, the vice presidency, Biden as senator. The only things that are there that really matter, other than Hunter Biden being a felon multiple times over, if you look at what's there, is Joe Biden's involvement. The big guy got his 10%. Definitely. And no, General Omni, BitChute containing bitch in the actual URL is not why that's a problem. If that were the case, then Twitter wouldn't be overrun with porn sites. Those seem to have no problem being shared out. They don't come with a warning on those links. Is it okay to have a conspiracy to get rid of Trump? Maher began. They were talking about Hunter Biden's laptop, which was a story, and now all the mainstream press has finally admitted it was a real story. It was a real laptop. Now look, let's not pussyfoot around this. He was selling the influence of his father, Joe Biden. I mean, most political sons do, but let's not pretend at least that was going on. So Hunter Biden's laptop was buried by the press. Even the head of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, said that was a mistake. Why the fuck do you think that Jack Dorsey is no longer the head of Twitter, by the way? It couldn't have anything to do with the massive cover-up of multiple news topics by big tech and people trying to escape the repercussions. It also has absolutely nothing to do with what's happening at Twitter in relation to Elon Musk. We'll be covering that separately. Again, we're supposed to believe that virtually everything over the last few years is a stark coincidence. The moon aligned with the sun and every planet of the solar system as the constellations whirled above in just the right direction, and a quasar and a pulsar and all this shit. It just all happened to line up cosmically. A 1 in a trillion chance that everything over the last few years happened exactly as it happened, without any involvement by any perturbing force whatsoever. Strictly coincidental timing all around. And Crafty Huragok, can I get some help chat filling in a large frog in Hudson Bay area, Canada? I got the outline done. Any help would be greatly appreciated. Yes, you can also go to Pixel Planet. And when you're at spawn, that giant area of red and yellow tiling is Styx Hexendom. That is the Clank Kingdom. Here, just a second here. Over on Rumble. Horatio Nelson TAS. We have shot you a Twitter PM, being I have taken the steps to publish my first work on Amazon and am finishing editing my first book related to Pure Land Buddhism. Would love to send you a free copy as thanks. There's currently nowhere here that you can send it, although you could send it to my Rutland address. I can get that to you because it's already online. Everyone already knows where I live in the United States. So yeah, even Bill Maher, and he's a liberal and a Democratic partisan for the most part. He's just one of the Democrats willing to criticize the party's dumb actions, is warning the Democrats, and he's usually right when he does that. When you get Maher so far that he's warning the DNC about something, he's warning them, you've got to own up to the Hunter Biden story. Something needs to be done about this. This is an actual scandal, an actual political scandal. So unlike the Mar-a-Lago raid, which is a nothing burger, this is the actual scandal. We have proof, at least according to the son of the current Stewart administration, proof, not just evidence, that there were dirty business dealings. We have pictures of Joe Biden lying to the public by meeting with people he claimed he never met with. That alone should have been disqualifying. And I don't think that there's any possibility they could have honked in 2020 if that had come out at the time. SunnyCat85, me and my hot-ass wife watch every morning. Love you, Sticks. Well, thank you. Frederick John, are you planning on making any music soon? I don't know. Possibly. Gotta have instrumentals to make music because I can't make my own. I don't have a spot here to record either way. And by the way, I would like to point out another Tucker Carlson AstroTurf moment here. Tucker Carlson, the FBI has been working on behalf of the Democratic Party. No, they haven't, Tucker. The neocons are in the same bed as the neoliberals. They're not working on behalf of the Bernie left, and they're not working on behalf of MAGA. I wish that there was one honest commentator within the legacy media willing to admit to the fact that the two-party dichotomy thing is a pile of horseshit. And we're seeing it. It's a uniparty system at this point. You have elements of both political parties that are deeply entrenched. They involve old money. They involve corporatism, various corruption, graft, and embezzlement. And that's the neocons and the neolibs. Then you have the outsiders, and the outsiders come in two flavors. You've got the far left cringe fringe, which are they're well-meaning in some cases, but they're fucking nuts. And then you have MAGA. You've got a trifecta within U.S. politics today, effectively. But Tucker Carlson, being employed by the Uniparty through Fox News, a multi-billion-dollar company whose owner also is invested in CNN, by the way. Just to be clear, the backers of Fox News also back the rest of the corporate media complex. Just in case nobody was aware of this fact, we're talking about, I think, hundreds of millions of dollars in some of these cases. They are not paid to tell you the truth. Fox News is the same as CNN. They just cater slightly differently to people to try to grab up a different audience because they don't want the audiences overlapping. Rebel Embassy, didn't Donald J. Trump explode the budget deficit and debt before COVID? That was mainly COVID related. And to be clear, and I've pointed this out in debates before with people who do not acknowledge the fact that I pointed this out, I was against that particular handout because I was against the lockdowns. Bara 7331, please read my super chat. Thank you. Well, I just did. Steady Eddie 1983, we didn't want to influence the election, said the FBI, who lied about Hunter Biden laptop to influence the election. Exactly. It's a grift. It's a complete lie. And they know that they're lying. The Sacred Order of Knightly Valor, indiscreet. It's where I parks my car. Here, just a second here. Let me check the poll. Yeah, we're still we're moving it in a positive direction here. Make sure to take that link at the top of chat, everyone, if you happen to have a Twitter account. Regardless, you can go to the Grifty site as well and vote for Sticks, Hex, and Hammer's cat. Although technically they were Liz's cats first, number one, and there are two of them. It's I don't know. Some people think they're the same cat. Sometimes I get a little confused too. I look at them and they do look quite similar. You have to look at the underbelly color mainly. I call Jana Pompoenpoes, which basically means pumpkin cat in Dutch, because her underbelly is like almost an orange color. It's sort of like a cinnamon spice color. With Farah, her underbelly is tawny. It's like a tan color, tan with a little bit of gray ticking in it. And they're both very cute and cuddly. Jana is the one that mainly causes trouble. She wakes the baby up attacking her sister at night. She yowls at closed doors constantly. She has some mental issues, I think. So I think she's the main recipient of the award if indeed we win the Grifty. It's me, FBI covering themselves and their own agenda. Of course. I mean, I'm not surprised by that. It's not, it'd be surprising if they didn't cover for themselves and respond immediately to Zuckerberg. Troy Heimsolth, the thought process on not allowing student loan bankruptcy at the time was you can't repo a degree. Yeah, I mean, I guess that makes sense in some way, but if the person has made it at all, you just liquefy all their other assets and gobble them down. It would still be better than the alternative, which is that we're handing out $300 billion plus, which are not deserved by all those people, number one, and are deserved by others who won't get it, number two, and paid for by people who in many cases never went to college or already paid their loans off. And we're going to have to do that over and over again because it only addresses one slurry of debt. The problem with Biden's plan is that it doesn't have any, I mean, imagine future college kids, they're still getting abused by the high tuition rate that the government caused and the same kind of loan services. So the problem doesn't go away. It not only does it not go away, it barely kicks the can by a year or two. PG, Tarl, the only person I know who's never had a rotisserie chicken and can't ride a bike. Make sure to eat your leftover beef bouillon. Tonight, I think having kip satay, which is delicious, by the way. For those of you who have had Mexican food, it's similar to mole, like mole chicken, which is sort of a chocolatey, nutty sauce. It's a little bit similar to that, and then some rice. And then Liz has salmon, And I'm going to have to eat a piece of that too because, you know, they come in 2 packs and she only wants one of them. So along with some boiled broccoli. I personally like to make my broccoli with a nice salty sauce myself, like a stir fry. By the way, I've got a new recipe for the actual sauce, but I'll make do with it just being boiled tonight, I suppose. Good times had by all. Now we've got another story here from Zero Hedge. Senator Warren says she is very worried that the Fed is going to tip the economy into a recession. Looks like someone didn't read Chairman Doom's speech. Here's the problem. We're already in a recession. Liz Warren, by coming out and saying this, is basically making pretend. We're already in one. We had 2 negative quarters of growth, number one. We have numerous other negative economic indicators. In fact, the only one that's positive, and that's absent labor force participation, is the unemployment rate. Judging by the megacorp layoffs that we're seeing right now over the last month or two, that'll probably begin going in a negative direction fairly soon as well. And so we're already in a recession. So that part is bullshit. Secondly, it was months ago that Joe Biden came out when queried on inflation. I think this was in June or even in May. Did he not say, and I covered it at the time, around that time, that his plan for inflation was to let the Fed do its job? And at the time, I announced, I think it was on a live stream, this is his way of deflecting when the recession is officially declared, which it has been anyway, but they're waiting, I guess, for another negative quarter, and they'll probably get it. Just to be clear, the indicators are there that Q3 will also be sharply negative. By the way, we will get that before the midterms. It'll be very interesting to see if that impacts the election outcome. So don't write off the GOP senators quite yet. Did I not say that what was going to happen is that Joe Biden was going to blame the Fed when that happened? And when, not if, because it was clear that we were going to end up in a recession. Even last year, the middle of last year, I was proclaiming that Joe Biden would lead us into one. Hell, during the fucking primaries, anyone worth their salt who was analyzing things looked at 10 words that Joe Biden said and said, if he gets elected, things are going to get kind of rocky on the economy side. It'll be a little bit of a problem. Plus, next year, we're going to get massively more inflation than we even have now because of all the funny money spending. Now, you look at the student loan debt forgiveness, if it goes through, it's not actually going to strengthen the economy. What it's going to do is cause a huge amount of extra inflation. You haven't even seen the inflation from the Schumer and Manchin deal that's separately going through. How much is the total between these two bills? It's like $1 trillion fucking dollars. Yeah, that's not going to sting at all. Nobody has to pay for it. The government will just wave a magic wand and the money will appear. Rancho Patriot, you put ketchup on waffles, but not on steak. If the steak is horribly well done, then it'll need ketchup. But I take mine medium rare, so I don't have that issue. But yeah, ketchup can go on waffles, especially with pancake sauce. If you don't have real maple syrup, then you should mix a little bit of ketchup in with the pancake syrup, which is basically nothing but a slurry of sugar. There's a fly right on top of the webcam. I think I just barely injured it. I get tired of this shit. I'm tired of this shit. So yeah, Senator Warren is proclaiming that she's worried that we're going to be dipped into a recession. But we already are in one. She's just laying the groundwork to blame the Fed for when the recession is more recognized in the next quarter. So right now we have Q1, Q2, sharply negative. Q3 ends soon. Then we'll get those numbers probably in the middle of October or thereabouts, conveniently a month before midterm. October surprise time, anyone? And I mean, at some point, the Biden admin's no longer going to be able to pretend that we're not in a recession. They're not going to be able to make pretend forever and proclaim, as people go to the store and see soaring prices, as they see their wages not keeping pace with them, as they see gas prices, which have leveled out, I believe now as well, which is not great. As they see all the other problems, as unemployment begins to probably tick upwards in the coming months, you're not going to be able to shelter them from the truth forever. Aaron C., did you see Schultz propose the removal of EU member state vetoes this morning? Yes, although I think that is doomed. I do not believe that will actually happen. Yeah, the Stagflation Introduction Act is what it is. By the way, we've got over 11 Biden loser units currently watching. Getting up towards 700 on Rumble and almost 3,000 on YouTube. It's working. It's always less people that tune in, though, after a day where I didn't live stream. People get used to the schedule, and I want to go 7 days a week, basically, roughly around the same time, roughly around this time of day. I was like 3 minutes late today, so fucking sue me. I'm doing better, though, as far as keeping up a schedule. Again, I will remind everyone that there is a link if you happen to be on either platform. It's in the description. If you're on YouTube, it's pinned at the top of chat to a Twitter poll. You can definitely participate in that. I am encouraging you to vote no. It's do you believe Donald J. Trump is guilty of treason? Now watch, they'll take the fucking post down at some point or something. Probably get tipped off by somebody on there. I know that there are some leftoids that watch my streams just to downvote them. They do this with my one-off videos too. There are actually people who have even gone after some of my Amazon entries. There was one user that pretended to have read 5 or 6 of them, leaving very generic 1-star reviews that don't even have anything to do with the texts. I'm used to this. It's been happening since long before I was reasonably well known, by the way. White Knight Leo built an 8x2 raised bed over the weekend. Going to throw turnips and daikon radishes. I'm late to the Freedom Garden party. Hello from Florida. Oh yeah, in Florida, you'll definitely you'll have to do that over winter, probably, I guess. Don't you plant like cool weather crops in like November in a place like Florida? And then, you know, most of them are pretty speedy growers. And then you plant the hot weather crops around February or March or something. See, in New England, you can't grow anything over the winter. You can put in seeds and seedlings of certain types before the snow comes. They'll go dormant over the winter. Look, chamomile is a great example. It'll sit there under the snow just as green as a pine needle. But it's not doing anything. And you can hear that the baby has decided to howl and yowl a little bit. Many such cases. Next news story. We've got Mastriano derangement syndrome. Yes, indeed. Very selectively edited photo, by the way. Link in the description for this news story. Exclusive. Pennsylvania candidate Mastriano posed in Confederate uniform at Army War College with Phil D. Stewart. It's a Reuters article. This comes a few days after their hit piece against BitChute and Odyssey. Again, it's very, very coincidental, all of these timings. Total coincidence. Look at that photo, and then open up the article, and then look at the photo that actually graces the article itself. And keep in mind, a good half of the people that interact with the tweet aren't going to open the article. They're just going to comment on the article as though they had read it. What else do you see in that picture? You see a Confederate soldier, that's Mastriano. You see a man holding a propeller and a flight helmet for some reason. Off to the side, conveniently cropped out of the original photo, is a dude who looks like, I don't know, a Swiss guard or some shit like that. He's dressed like, I don't know, from the 16th century, I guess, or something like that. The fact is that some of the people decided to dress up in period costumes for this photo. Mastriano has literally engaged. He's representing the area that covers Gettysburg. You don't think that he participated in some war reenactments? And if you were wearing a Union soldier, would they have anything to butt-fuck say about it? No. The fact is, though, if you're going to do a Civil War reenactment, some of those people are going to have gray uniforms on. Otherwise, what are you reenacting? A day in the life of the Union Army? Oh, yeah, here's our hardtack. It's good eating. And I just pick the worms out or eat them for the extra protein. My hardtack turned into worms. I'm happy because it's probably more nutritious now. That's the way that it works in a reenactment. You can't have a war reenactment and not have at least two sides. Where's the war? Here's the Union Army on march for a week straight. All the kids at the schools, they'll definitely want to see that one. The fact is that he does reenactments, and he chose to take the costume that he already had, dress up in it. This is 2013, so this is before cancel culture's modern wave, and pose for a photo. Nobody seems to have a problem with the other people that are effectively LARPing here. What I'm more concerned about is one dude there with sunglasses on and blue shoes, and he's wearing shorts, but a suit or something. I don't know what the fuck kind of style. I never saw that when I was in the middle of the 2010s, but it's alarming to me. Everyone else looks fine. They're mostly just dressed in normal fatigues and shit. I'm thinking, Who gives a fucking shit? Also, this coming from a news agency that helped to cover up the Ralph Northam blackface case. What about Justin Trudeau and his own proclivities towards wearing blackface? The fact is, what about Hillary Clinton and her long-seated love for the former Grand Dragon of the Klan? But Mastriano dared to put on the costume he already had. I guess he was supposed to buy a different costume. He was supposed to go on eBay and buy a cheap Indian-made suit of armor from the 16th century and pose in that, because otherwise he might offend people. But in 2013, people weren't randomly pretending to be offended by the fact that Confederacy existed. So, yeah. So we have Mastriano derangement syndrome now. It's metastasizing. We had Trump derangement syndrome. Well, technically, Ron Paul derangement syndrome even comes before that. Then you have Trump derangement syndrome. That's the big one. Now it's metastasized to literally anyone involved with MAGA. Content creators, politicians, fucking judges, police chiefs, workers at your local hotel, road crew members, janitors. Everyone is guilty, which means nobody's really guilty. It's one of those things where nobody wants to speak out against it. It's sort of like Victorian sex law. All of the Victorian people, I mean, they had 5 fucking kids. They knew what sex was. They knew it was enjoyable. They enjoyed all of their bizarre peccadillos, et cetera, et cetera. They knew about oral. They knew about anal. They weren't actually clueless. Like, people think that about people in the medieval times too. Yeah, people in the 1700s were a bunch of libertines, but they completely forgot everything about sex when we moved into the end of the 19th century. That makes a lot of sense. They knew about it, but they didn't speak out when the moralists and censors came because they didn't want to be exposed as beating off, as doing things sexually that were not religiously and socially acceptable at the time, because a bunch of busybodies always exist in society. Really, when I look at the Mastriano derangement syndrome article there, I can only compare them to like fire and brimstone era church marms or to Victorian soci-elites or something like that, to people throughout time who are inevitably regarded as completely retarded when the era is over. They pretend to be on the cutting edge of some new social thought, but in the end, we always regard them as woefully outdated because they are. And that's basically what that is. Sky Cloud Rain. So did that college loan bailout actually pass? How can Biden unilaterally do this without Congress? Can this be challenged? I don't actually know exactly what's happening with it now. It's still a proposal as far as I know. I'm sure that they would give us an update if anything goes further, because they'll be celebrating it. So I don't think we'll have to lack for that. The 666 o'clock news. What's gonna happen when the FBI raid crumbles? Here's a little for your little one. Thank you very much. When that story crumbles, and it basically already has, but it has to crumble further. It's like feta cheese. Get it all nice and minced up. When that happens, the left will be very sad as usual, and they'll probably burn cop cars and march through the streets yelling about how they want to kill people for their differences of opinion. Misael Fraga, gonna watch the Artemis launch sticks? Oh yeah, that's on in like, what, a half an hour or an hour or something. What time is that? Let me look that up. Artemis launch live. Live updates as of 10 minutes ago by Yahoo. 8:33 a.m. Monday, if fuel leaks or other issues don't force a delay. Okay, yeah, I'll be able to watch it live, I guess. That's about almost exactly an hour. Yeah, I guess I'll be watching that. Should live stream during it. That'd be funny. And then it ends up blowing up on the launch pad or something. It goes up for a while, and then it comes straight back down, and there's a massive explosion. By the way, that has actually happened many times in NASA's history. Even worse with the Soviets. All right. Now we get the next story. This is a big one. How Twitter has been shaken by a whistleblower's allegations. Yes, Peter Zatko. He used to work as the head of security for Twitter. And I did cover this earlier in a one-off, and I had referred to it a few days ago, but I wanted to do a bit about it for the live stream as well. It's very important. My reading of this is the basic premise is he's saying everything that Twitter told Elon Musk is bullshit. They've got more than 5% bots, et cetera, et cetera. That figures into their case against Musk. And I think that at this point, he will win his case against Twitter. Which means he can drop the deal and leave Twitter hanging. Doesn't have to pay a fine necessarily because they misrepresent reality to him. Or he can negotiate, and this is what I think he wants, a settlement on the side and say, look, I still want Twitter. I don't have a problem with the fact that you fucking lied to me, but I'm not going to pay 44 billion big ones for a company that's worth half of what it was when I struck the deal. And that's before this revelation even came through. I'll pay you 30, maybe 35 billion. He's hoping to shave a huge chunk of money, billions and billions of dollars off of the cost. That's my reading. I think he still wants Twitter. And the fact is, the lower Twitter goes, the better it is, because when he buys it up, when the deal goes through, the stock price will soar because people trust Elon Musk, I think, more than the Twitter team to run Twitter. And who wouldn't, by the way? I think Twitter's insiders probably do. Hell, Zacko certainly seems to. He fucking worked for them for a considerable period of time. It's funny because they say it's a false narrative and he was fired for ineffective leadership and poor performance. The problem being Zacko separately says, hey, now Twitter is performing poorly. Yeah, that's true. They're performing poorly because you took executives working in the company and you told them that they would be granted bonuses based on user membership, number of people on site. Why the fuck would they want to purge the spam accounts? Why would they want to do that? Then it looks like there are fewer users on the site. It makes much more sense to ignore them in order to get that nice hefty bonus now, doesn't it? This links directly up with what Zacko is saying in and of himself. And he's not just saying that they're lying to Musk. That's important for a civil case. He's saying they lied to the U.S. government. They lied to the U.S. government with regards specifically to privacy of the users and to cybersecurity in general, and to the spam issue, which is tied in both cases. Twitter's fucked. To tell the truth, this is pretty cut and dry. And they're going up against one of the few people that has the money to totally rip them apart. He's got much more money than Twitter is worth. He's got a lot of political allies at this point. I think that he'll prevail. I think he'll still buy Twitter, but I don't think he's going to pay 44 billion. I would say maybe 35, maybe 30 billion. He'll still be giving them a huge gift. He'll still be buying above, the actual price that it is, but that price has dropped precipitously. So he can save a huge amount of money, and then he can, by the way, doesn't need to liquidate as much Tesla stock. Epic Man 004, Shia LaBeouf converted to Catholicism. Thoughts? Oh, another grifter. Just like, what's his name there? That bearded, I can't fucking remember his name. The one that pretends to be a TradCon Orthodox now. And he was doing the pickup artist bullshit. And I can't remember his name because he's irrelevant. Yeah, many such cases. When your career has cratered, just convert to a new religion, become really zealous, and turn that into your content creation. It's like the final level of grifting when you convert and pretend to be zealous. He'll still be doing drugs and other crazy shit. He'll just do it in private more. Terry Kelly, the left thinks Aviator Biden will make us forget the Disinformation Governance Board. Yeah, that's been discontinued permanently at this point, but it did happen, and it shouldn't have. Oh my god, this is awesome, lol. The Diversity rocket is not launching today. Oh, so the Artemis rocket has been delayed? BW. I hope you didn't talk about this earlier. I just now joined the stream for a few minutes. But as usual, I want to ask you about how we're doing on the polls now that Potato Joe is forgiving debt. There won't be any effect upon polling for some time. There's always a lag in the aggregate. So give it a week and we'll see about movement. Jamerson McGradner, do you still expect there to be food shortages? Yes. There was a lot of talk about August being the start of it, but everything has seemed fine for the most part. No, September and October are the bad months potentially. And it won't be so much shortages as just increased prices. Michael Cricklow, Twitter locked Libs of TikTok account for hate. Yes, I saw that story. I would love to talk about it on stream, but I would have to say things that are clearly against YouTube's TOS about basic human biology that literally everyone knows, but some people just do not want to speak out against because they don't want to be silenced. I happen to not have that problem because I make new tech exclusives. You can always go through them. The Grizzly, what are your odds that Elon Musk actually goes through with reforming the site? I think very high, actually. Or do you think he'll get a few kind warnings from the feds in order to keep their lawless censorship apparatus? Now, I think that Twitter was more caused to censor people by pink-haired craptivists, craptivistic freaks, as opposed to the feds. The feds just want to spy on the user base. They don't necessarily give a shit about, they'd like people to be on containment sites. Why do you think a certain Biden lover is still on the site? The one that was big in Tiki Torch land years ago and now pretends to be basically the racist Bernie Sanders. Won't even mention him. BW, also, do you think Ron DeSantis will get that Stop Woke Act passed eventually? Yes, it will. I believe the injunction will be lifted upon appeal. Michael Cricklow, do we lose the filibuster if Dems get 2 Senate seats? Not necessarily, because other senators have expressed disinterest in even holding a vote on the topic. Feinstein was one of them. The fucking Dianne Feinstein, who won't be there very long because she's literally demented, but she's more demented than Biden. Next story, Turkish pop star jailed after a joke about religious schools in Turkey. Turkish pop star Gülsen Kolakoglu has been jailed on charges of inciting or insulting the public to hatred and enmity after she made a joke about religious schools in Turkey, according to the state-run Anadolu news agency. The charges appear to be related to a video circulating on social media from a Gülsen concert in April when she joked about one of the musicians. He graduated from Imam Hatip religious schools. That's where his pervert side comes from, she said. Several Twitter users could be seen sharing the video on Thursday with a hashtag calling for her arrest and saying it is offensive to associate the schools with perverts, even if they're associated with fucking perverts. This is fairly obvious. In the United States, you also have that problem. You have the priest abuse scandal with Catholicism, etc. Yes, I know the secular schools have just as many perverts in them. Of course they do, but they don't claim that God protects them from doing evil things. Slightly apples to oranges in some ways. I'm just thinking to myself, Turkey is constantly trying to get in with Europe and be sort of part of the crowd. And then this fucking shit happens. Now, I understand that there are still some remnant blasphemy laws in general in places like, I think, Poland, France, actually, to an extent, for some bizarre reason. But generally speaking, it's like blue law mode. And, criticism of religion and making an obvious joke typically are not actionable in most civilized parts of the world. But then Turkey, that wants to be Eurozone and EU and NATO, which it is, and all of these other things, keeps sort of riding this weird straddling line. And they've been going in this direction for a while. Turkey was much more liberal even 10 years ago. The crackdown on protests and things like that were more absent than they are now. What I would say is it's hilarious because one would think that the way that this particular pop star is dressed would be more of a problem in Turkey than what she's saying about religious schools, but I find it very, very funny. I'm defending the freedom I believe in. I see myself thrown towards the radical end that I criticize. I apologize to anyone who was offended by my speech in the video, she said. Oh, so she even fucking apologized and called it an unfortunate joke. She shouldn't have done that. She should have said, fuck you, honestly. The funny thing is, if you have a pop star in the United States and they don't blaspheme against multiple religions, that's when they get criticized. How dare you not take on the church more? How dare you not criticize this? Yeah, oh yes, Roosh V is the one I was talking about earlier. The one that he was a pickup artist, and then he hit the wall, and he couldn't pick up, the 4 out of 10s in the bar anymore and write shitty books about it. And I do disagree with this, but he got a bunch of his books were censored, so I imagine most of his income dried up. So then immediately he had a moment where he decided to give that up because it was no longer lucrative. Haha, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And become like specifically Orthodox. And now he goes around prattling about religion. And it's just pathetic. Literally, I mean, it's nothing. It's like being a low rent televangelist. Oh, Jesus wants me to wear this suit. It's a fucking grift. And if you can't see through it, I mean, he still apparently has a few fans. Jesus Christ, how fucking gullible do you have to be in order to believe that horse shit? AKR 619, what are the chances of a USS Donald J. Trump? I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think that they'll be putting him on our money in the future. And by the way, I think he's perfectly fine with that. Skycloud Rain, since it came out that the feds did pressure Zuck to censor the platform by proxy for the laptop, isn't that a clear violation of the First Amendment? Yes, but it's not actionable because of the way our court system works. Nobody's going to be able to take the case and prove that they were actually aggrieved by it, because the FBI would just say, no, we didn't even mention it. And Zuckerberg's not crazy enough to countermand them on that claim, even if it's completely patently wrong. Mitch James, renewables versus nuclear. Is the rise of price for coal, gas, and nuclear energy artificially inflated to make way for renewables? Well, they're not really renewable when you think about it. Yes, it is being artificially inflated. Nuclear is the future, it seems. Skycloud Rain, if it is a violation of the First Amendment, can the SCOTUS intervene? No. Or Congress? Not really. And strip the federal agencies of their Gestapo powers. They can, but they won't. Defying the meta. I'm going to see Artemis launch. I'll try to get video. The 21.6 talk show. Sticks, you're looking a little tired. Have a cup on me. I'm actually not that tired, although I did get woken up a little bit early. Mainly because the cat decided to wake the baby up by howling and yowling multiple times last night. Parlock 480, thoughts on Marilyn Manson's Antichrist Superstar album. Antichrist Superstar is some good shit. Yeah, I like Marilyn Manson. By the way, he is innocent, in my opinion, of the crimes that he's associated with. Okay, so that won't be just a second here. Yeah, we've moved the poll several more points. Keep in mind, link in the description to a Twitter poll if you happen to have an account there, and also pinned at the top of chat if you're on YouTube. Please vote no on the poll to own the libs, literally. And also vote for Sticks, Hex, and Hammers, Cat, and the Grifties. Next story, CNN posting this, so you know that it's going to be a humdinger. From Brad Pitt to Lil Nas X, more men are turning to skirts. Apparently in 2013, that was a thing in Mastriano's graduating class too. And I find this funny, and here's the thing. Skirts are not naturally feminine. You'd look at the kilt. I don't think that anyone really finds that to be a feminine sort of product. Skirts or skirted armor, things of that nature, have been worn in antiquity, etc., etc. The reason why this is being astroturfed, people are getting led off in the wrong direction, where they think this is an attempt to feminize men. That's really not what this is about. At this point, you've run out of all originality within style, the same as you have in music, in general, and acting, film, etc. You've run out of originality in a lot of fields of entertainment and style and fashion. So you have to recycle things. Well, what a novel idea. We took something that's been worn for thousands of years and we color-coded it to wear for men. Oh my God. See, they don't have any originality left, so they have to astroturf it as though it's some great new thing. And then they have a few of these vapid celebrities wear the skirt. And then you'll have, I guess, a skirt line at Hot Topic, but geared towards men or something like that. And that's the only reason. By the way, using Lil Nas X as an example, not exactly making your point, CNN, just to be clear. Didn't he win a Grifty actually last year, I think? Lil Nas X? Within the entertainment category. Eric Wise, I started watching you thanks to my wife. Love the content and your analysis. Keep it up. Yes, we shall. But yeah, I mean, nobody really cares. I mean, it looks ridiculous, especially if you look at these pictures, like, Brad Pitt looks all right, I guess. And Lil Nas X looks like Lil Nas X, so nobody's surprised. It looks like he has a boner there too, which is funny. I don't know who the third dude is there, the one in the gray skirt, but he looks fucking ridiculous. It looks like a ninja decided to go to a dinner party, but couldn't find his pants, in all honesty. Yes, men can wear skirts or something approximating that, and nobody gives a damn. The only damn that I give here is that it's this particular industry recycling the same concepts over and over. We see this within movies. When's the last time that you had an original fucking goddamn movie that was made? I can't think of any. I'm not exactly the top film critic of our time or anything like that, but I haven't seen any utterances of anything that approximates originality. Think about books even. There are only so many plot lines that you can write. At some point, you're just basically using different names for the characters and switching up the order of the scenarios and shit that you put them in. It would take a lot of effort to actually be truly original and inventive. I'm sure that it can be done, but it's a once in a blue moon sort of event. Just got here, is Hunter wearing a skirt now? Lol. Yeah, probably would. You get enough crack into him, he'll do anything, dude. AKR 619, will you ever play Escape from Tarkov? Maybe. Hot topic, we about to sell us some skirts, dollar bill. Yeah, cod pieces and shit like that. Yeah, I mean, men, look at Scotland. Men wear skirts, as part of their celebrations and shit. And they're very historical, and nobody considers them feminine, although you do joke about the idea of them wearing something that looks like a skirt. Wool. I'm sure it's very itchy down below. Not sure how people in old-style militaries actually dealt with that. Jesus. It's like, imagine that you're on a forced march for 10 miles in 80-degree weather in full sun, and your uniform is made entirely out of thick layers of wool. Yeah, I wonder why their rate of escapees was so high. Warshaw Q. Since the Republicans will take the House and possibly the Senate, much less likely the latter, any chance marijuana legalization will go through before or after the red wave. There have been some liberals who actually warned that the Republicans could steal it as an issue. I think they should. I definitely think that they should ram it through. There's really no reason why we should have any laws regarding drugs in the United States other than selling to kids or something like that. Mass manufacture, cook a little bit of meth. It may not be a problem. If you got a big ass meth distillery, it can blow up and destroy the whole neighborhood. So we might need to regulate a few aspects. Next story, again by CNN. Los Angeles voters will decide on a proposal in 2024 on whether hotels will have to offer vacant rooms to homeless people. Do you know what will happen if this goes through? A bunch of hotels in Los Angeles will close. If I had a hotel, let's say that I have, I'm managing the hotel, I own an inn or something on the outskirts of Los Angeles, a little cabana, with 8 rooms or something. And, sometimes there's a spare room. My hope is somebody comes in and rents the room. All of a sudden, a heroin junkie is put in one of the rooms. I'm still getting paid, but they're trashing their room. They're shooting up. And they're preventing other people from wanting to go to my little cabana. All of a sudden, I've got plenty of vacancies, and now the homeless run my motel. I can't kick them out. I can't do anything about it. They'll probably be crazy enough to vote in favor of this, which means the death of Los Angeles tourism industry effectively. I'm not sure why anyone wants to go to anywhere in California anyway, though. Just about the shittiest place in the civilized world. Immortal legend. To be fair, the men who wear and wore kilts are actually manly. Yeah, it's not an attempt to feminize men. It's an attempt to get by with doing something totally uneventful and totally uninventive, but proclaim that it's something new. It's a new style trend. Men wearing skirts. Who the fuck is going to actually do that anyway? A handful of hipsters will take it up as an idea after they get castrated for their wife's son and stuff like that. The Grizzly. Also, what's your odds of Trump winning 24, assuming that the injustice system is out of their minds enough to indict Trump and try to jail him, forcing a SCOTUS case? It entirely depends on whether they take up the case, which they don't technically have to do. A lower court could end up doing the binding on that one. And it depends on SCOTUS' decision. You would immediately have every liberal in the country demanding that the 3 Trump justices recuse themselves from the case because of conflict of interest. Whether or not they do so is, of course, up to them. I would advise them not to. Second Coming. Do you think the next president could declare the deep state Kabbalists illegal enemy combatants and disappeared? No, it wouldn't be possible to do so legally. You got to realize if Trump does get elected again, he will be constantly hounded after by the courts and by the neocon, neolib dynamic, the uniparty system. It's just the way that it is. Now we've got a major story. I saw this earlier. From the New York Times, actually. Archived, of course. Beto O'Rourke, who is running for Texas governor, said on Sunday that he would be sidelined from campaigning because of a bacterial infection. Please get worse. I will be resting at home in El Paso in accordance with the doctor's recommendations, he said on Twitter. He's not, by the way, telling anyone what bacterial infection this is. Do you have fucking meningitis or something? Depending on how bad it is, and if it's a super bug, this could effectively end his campaign. I think something else. I think he got a boo-boo, and he got a little staph infection or something, so he's decided, fuck it. And he looked at his internal polls, and he realized he's not going to beat Greg Abbott. And he's doing something that another candidate did many, many years ago. And not many people remember it, but I do, like the back of my hand, because fucking it was a fun time had by all. Mitt Romney. When Mitt Romney was running against Barack Hussein Obama for the presidency, he effectively took the last couple months of the campaign and completely disappeared. He didn't go to events. He canceled fundraisers. He disappeared. He went home. He realized that at that point, what Karl Rove and a bunch of other morons didn't realize, which was that it was impossible to win. There was no path to victory. His internal polls showed that, and so he took his toys and went home. Why would he go and spend money that he's already raised when he could just raise a shit ton of money in the last months of the campaign and hoard it for a future campaign? That's, in my opinion, what Beto is doing. He realizes the jig is up, and so he's continuing to solicit donations, which he's gotten quite a few of. Huge amounts of handouts from billionaires, by the way. They really have a problem with Greg Abbott. He realizes that he can't win, but he can embezzle millions of dollars and potentially win in the future. He's going through his midlife crisis. He refuses to acknowledge that he made a tactical blunder in leaving his House seat to run for the presidency, which he did, and then for the Senate. I think that is his ultimate goal. What his goal was to run for the Senate. He intended to knock off Ted Cruz. I think he genuinely expected to win. He got a huge infusion from the DNC, I think like $10 million or something. It was the top race that they were gunning for, and he lost. He didn't quite make the cut. He lost by several points. Since then, everything's been downhill for poor Beto. He's decided, though, that it's a lucrative career because he doesn't have to work too hard. Hell, he can take time off from campaigning in the 11th hour of the campaign itself because he realizes that he is losing. All the polls show Greg Abbott up by at least 5 points. Most of them show him up by 7 or 8. Greg Abbott will win re-election. Beto O'Rourke will not be elected, and he is conning his fans. And I love to see it. I love out-of-state money is pouring into his campaign too. I love this. You're taking money from idiots. It's a good thing. The Grizzly, my question was less about SCOTUS. My question was more along the lines of how will Trump being indicted affect the 24 presidential run? Well, if he is indeed indicted, if he's not running or actually gets imprisoned or something, it'll become the number one campaign issue, arguably, unless the economy totally implodes, in which case even that would be an afterthought. But how it impacts it, we can't say. We would have to see who the candidates are that run. That'll make the biggest difference of all. Iggy the Incubus. So, in the hopefully ludicrous scenario, the deep state assassinates Trump either before or after 24 election. What do you foresee the reaction to be? I'm just hoping the threat of backlash is enough they're unwilling to try. I don't think that they're willing to try that. I'm hesitant to believe that they would go that far. I think that they're just hoping to deny him office, to tell the truth. If I was him, though, and I did win, I would definitely double up my own security detail, and I would attempt to get rid of the Secret Service and have, a few groups of Navy SEALs or Army Rangers or Marines or something guarding me. I would disband the security service that currently guards the president. Yeah, some people are saying that Beto, maybe he got monkeypox. It is possible, considering his lifestyle. Now we've got the Midas touch weighing in. Now, keep in mind, these are the people that are linked to Kosciarella. He works with them. And so they're cringe lords, and their meme game is extremely weak. They're trying to make a dual meme here, which is interesting. Dark Brandon says Rovember is coming, and so it shall. Get the sticker pack. Give us some fucking money. Buy our stickers. And it's got a picture of Dark Biden, Dark Brandon, with Rovember is coming. By the Midas touch, of course. They have to advertise themselves on their own meme, which is how you know it's shitty, in front of, I guess, the throne from Game of Thrones or whatever the fuck it is. And I'm thinking to myself, you do realize that the entire original image that this is derived off of is a Chinese meme, number one. So somehow you've managed to make a knockoff of something made in China. You're the first ones to successfully do that. Out Chi-com the Chi-coms. I guess that's an accomplishment. Golf clap a little bit for them. Rovember is the concept, and it's also cringe. It's the idea that the Republicans are going to get, smashed and lose, in the House and Senate. They're going to get crushed because female voters come out and punish them for Roe v. Wade. If that were the case, we would have expected poll movement in the wake of Roe v. Wade much more quickly than we saw it. The fact is that's not what's happening right now. What's happened is that mainly the Republicans just lost focus. That is only a very small part of it. Yes, it alienates some female voters. There are an awful lot of female voters in the United States, probably as many as want abortion in the third trimester, who want it fucking banned because they're evangelicals. If I look at the polling, especially in critical races, much of it hasn't really changed that much. I always said that the Senate was a 50-50 sum game. Some people didn't get the memo. They said, well, this GOP will pick up 6 or 7 different Senate seats. And I always proclaimed that was very unlikely. But the Republicans will still win the House. They're fending off numerous attacks on the state and local level. The local level, they've been kicking ass, actually. There will be no Rovember. The entire idea is completely ludicrous. Kay Castles, can Trump sue corporate media for defamation? Not easily as a former public official. It would be very difficult for him to do that. You have to prove actual damages in order to do that anyway. Hopium Gardner, don't you just love hearing liberals talk about how much Texas needs to be governed when they vehemently despise the state? Yeah, it's very interesting. I'm still looking at that poll there. Yeah, we've nudged it almost 4 points now in the direction of no. There are 4 days left in the poll, so make sure to share that out. If you are watching this video, link in the description. The first link is to a Twitter poll by ZipPulse. Please get that out all over the place, like fucking retweet it, put it on your Boomer Book page if you're crazy enough to use that. Post it everywhere in order to shift this poll, because we're just trying to own the libs. It's just for the lulz, this particular one. And then always keep in mind, if you go to the Grifties page, which is run by Hotep Nation, Hotep Jesus involved with that, of course, you can vote for Sticks X and Amherst Cat. You can vote every hour. Again, I don't know exactly why they chose to structure it that way. It would have made more sense to just make it a one-person, one-vote thing, but I don't really know. The Sacred Order of Knightly Valor. Rovember? Rutro, said Scooby-Doo. Yeah, Rovember. Rovember is at least a passable meme. It's still cringe, but at the very least, it's passable. Okay, you're kind of making a pun there. Instead of just November, you've tacked Ro onto it. Okay, well, that's fairly simplistic. People know what it represents. That's pretty good. But the Dark Brandon meme is based on originally a Chinese meme, and it doesn't make any sense. He's a tired, haggard old man with no energy whatsoever, except when he has one of his old man tantrums. Nobody takes that seriously. Most of the fucking liberals call it cringe. I've seen it. I've seen plenty of liberals complain about it and say, yeah, dude, we got to get some better material here. What the fuck? As a cope, sometimes they compare it to MAGA. Well, you're being like a Trump poster. Let's see. Horatio Nelson TAS over on Rumble. To whomever is clanking on Missouri on Pixel, please don't fiddle with my flags, and I love Kansas City. Thank you, Clank. Yeah, to be clear, if you're on a Pixel Planet and you're doing the thing, you're tiling things in, please don't destroy any recognizable existing art, because that's not the point. The point is just seizing more territory as a retaliation for the fucking Nazis and some Ukrainians trying to invade our territory. This is a defensive struggle, not an aggressive one. D-Rock, Wednesday starts Halloween season. Oh, I'm already in Halloween season myself. As far as I'm concerned, basically around the middle of August is when Halloween begins. Then the second that Halloween's over is Thanksgiving prep. The second that that's over, it's the Christmas season. And then, as of the 1st, you start waiting for spring. And it's just the sit down and do nothing phase of the year for 3 or 4 months because it's miserable. If you're in Vermont, at least, climactically, it makes sense. Then you have spring and then summer and you go back through. Halloween is one of the most important holidays of the year because you get pumpkins, and I don't eat candy because I hate sweets, but you get other good shit. I want to make a nice savory meal too. Maybe I'll make Parthian chicken or something. That came out amazing. The demons are always active. They just get more active around Halloween. I wish. That'd be funny. Ghouls in the woods and shit. Basically it's an excuse to watch horror movies and, be spooky. It's the one day of the year I go out and nobody looks at me funny. They just assume that I'm in a costume. Sun Tzu, see that billboard in Cali begging people not to move by claiming that Texas Dream is dead because of Uvalde? Nice and tasteful. Yeah, apparently we're not exactly sure whether Texans or Californians put that up, by the way, which is interesting. Adam THM, Jack Passot is controlled op. Change my mind. I don't necessarily believe that Posobiec is controlled opposition. Yeah, apparently there's a meme going around about Chris Chan having escaped from jail through a bathroom window. I'm finding that a little bit hard to believe because I'm finding it hard to believe he'd be intelligent enough to actually escape from a jail. But people keep claiming it. See, I guess that's other news. Breaking news. Allegation is that Chris Chan is on the run looking for other old women to stick his penis inside of, I guess. He's hearing more voices in his head. He's so fucking delusional. I mean, you got to understand about Chris Chan. I don't really weigh in on this because it's more of a person story, and I don't give a fuck about it. It's not political or anything, and it's not really relevant outside of the internet. But the dude is absolutely bonkers. He's completely nuts. If anything, I don't believe in putting him in jail because if his mother is not demented, and we haven't seen any update on that, if it's determined that she's not, she's the one that should be put in jail. Arguably, for participating. He's mentally disabled, quite clearly. He's off of his rocker. If that's the case, then, at worst, they should put him in an asylum. Put him in the nut ward and get him on some real good fucking medications. Make the voices disappear, and maybe he'll say, oh, shit, what was I doing with my life with all the Sonichu bullshit? I guess he thinks that a fusion of Sonic the Hedgehog and Pikachu is some sort of divine avatar, and that he gets talked to regularly by God or something like that. It sounds like something that would be in and of itself fictional. It sounds like a comic book theme. Someone who's totally nuts delves deeply into their delusions and ends up fucking his own mother. Really, though, he's really that crazy. If you look at some of the material from Chris Chan throughout time, it's it's something else. Yes, we did away with insane asylums some time ago. I think we should have kept a few of them open, however. There are some people who, they probably just need to be in the nut ward. Oh, yeah, he claims he is God. Yeah. But he hears voices from entities of various kinds. It would be funny, though, if he did escape from jail. And can you imagine? Because, he'd probably still have the cuffs on and shit. He's running through the streets completely naked and all fucked up and saying weird shit. And then the cops have to tackle him. I know that Ethan Ralph would immediately go right on the scene just to get a glimpse of it. That would be pretty funny. The arrest footage was hilarious, I will say. The entity is Magichu, who is a demon. Yeah. By the way, that actually reminds me of something vaguely similar. I can remember when Pokemon cards first became popular, there were people, evangelicals, that were complaining that they represented demons. And they were sort of confused by the whole premise. And they claimed that playing with Pokemon, the games, books, cards, whatever, could cause possession. They said the same about Harry Potter. It's like, at least there, okay, you're talking about legit magical topics occasionally. Rowling had a general understanding, it seems, of the basics of certain historical occult features. With Pokemon, it's basically give us money, buy our trading cards. And it really has become one of the all-time greatest business grifts of all times, catering to people, by the way. Jack Posobiec said that Pokemon cards represented demons. And I guess a couple of them by now probably do, some sort of demon. That was in Digimon, which nobody remembers. Monster Rancher had demons in it. By the way, Monster Rancher I thought was great at the time. Anyway, I'm going to go off here because I've run out of news topics a little bit early, and now I'm just sort of mouthing off. I don't think we need to turn this into the Chris Chan stream. There are plenty of people talking about that. I think V actually made a brief video and it was like, oh, we can't corroborate what's happening here. I have a feeling it's a joke. I do not believe that he managed to escape, even from a low security facility. I don't think he's the kind of person with the mental awareness and intellect necessary to sort of slip the chains. I'm just, I would be very skeptical. If it turns out to be true, yeah, then I suppose I can make a video on the subject because that would be fucking great. That's about all. Peace out.